Welcome back to 55 Sports. We have another show for you today after having a break last week. Today we'll be breaking down what's going on in the NBA playoffs. We'll be talking about the first few games of the NHL Stanley Cup final. And 2 weeks into the NFL, we'll be talking about what we've seen so far, and then Evan and Dario will be breaking down the Premier League. So let's start the NBA. Let's start the Lakers versus Nuggets. 2 games into the series. From what you guys seen, what do you guys think so far?
I've learned nothing. Um, I think we're just getting a lot of what we expected. It's tough for the Nuggets to obviously, after coming back twice from 3-1, that takes a lot of emotional toll. And now you're running into the best team in the West. I mean, you could have argued the Clippers, they had the skill, but something, wasn't there mentally, which is kind of why they collapsed. You shouldn't do that with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George and, all the other talent surrounding the Clippers. So credit to the Nuggets, Jamal Murray and Jokic and the rest of the team because to do what they did twice is remarkable. But, you're running into the king, LeBron James. You still have Anthony Davis in that team, and you have a lot of good supporting players. So what we learned about the Nuggets is they have heart, they have spirit. They won't go down without a fight. We saw that towards the end of game two, losing on a buzzer beater for Anthony Davis. Again, another incredible shot. We've seen it all throughout the playoffs in every series. So, I mean, you had to enjoy these NBA playoffs because they always seem to come down to the wire. But we learned about the Nuggets. We know that they have heart. We know they have skill, and we know they have passion, and we know they're going to be around for a long time because they have two young superstars in Jamal Murray and Jokic. And regarding the Lakers, as long as they get the job done, we'll see them in the finals. And we just haven't learned much from the series, if that makes any sense. We know LeBron's a star. Davis is the number two guy. And as long as you have the other guys contributing, LeBron slinging out to the point, if you have KCP hitting shots, Danny Green, Alex Caruso, it's just about do the supporting players, are they going to do enough for you? And they have so far in the Denver series. That's why they're up 2-0.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with Evan. The Lakers have been the dominant force, and that's just proven they have the players, they have the X factor there with LeBron James and Anthony Davis, and we have to just give a credit. This is for game two, when with the buzzer beater from Anthony Davis, which was pretty awesome. The general thing is though the Nuggets have impressed a lot this year. To be in this position is a bit hard on them, but that's what happens when you come across a team like LeBron James and Anthony Davis in the Lakers. That being said, it's cool to see Jamal Murray and Jokic really playing some great basketball. But at the end of the day, they're just too powerful, and we're really seeing that in the series.
As of right now, Jamal Murray is the best player in the league. If we're talking about today, the way he's playing, if you just watch Jamal Murray play, it looks easy for him right now. He's not missing. And sometimes guys get into one of those zones. We've seen LeBron do it. We've seen all the superstars do it. And I think Jamal Murray, I have to say, just like Jason Tatum, these playoffs, those two have become superstars during these playoffs. The way Jamal Murray is conducting himself, the way he's leading himself, and the way he's leading his team is really special. He's a young player too. Jamal Murray, he hasn't been around for too long, but it looks so easy for him right now. Everything he throws up looks like it's going in. He has that cockiness. In like 2K when you have that green light follow through and it's going in, they do that little like shimmy. That's what Jamal Murray has going on. He knows everything he shoots is going in. So just credit to him. Canadian kid, you love to see it. Thanks for knocking out Kawhi Leonard. A little karma for him. We love Kawhi here still. We know why he left, but we could have ran it back. We know we would have run it back in Toronto. So nice to see Jamal Murray doing the Lord's work for Canada.
Yeah, I think you guys are completely spot on. And I mean, all respect to Denver because they have had an amazing run. And I was actually one of the people who thought that they were going to have a close series against Clippers. I still had Clippers winning, but I thought it was going to go game seven. I thought it was going to go a wire. Even when they're down, I had a
2-1,
feeling
yeah.
that Denver would be able to catch up. But I think at this point, though, I don't think you can do that third time, and especially not third time against a team like Lakers, like you guys said. I think Davis is just proving why Lakers gave up so much for him because he is a player that's worth how much he's going to get. And LeBron, I mean, LeBron is having a season where I wouldn't say it's his best season of his career, but like
For sure, no.
it's
He's I think he's just doing what he's expected to do. He's
yeah.
still a great player. He's still a top 3 player in the league.
But I
He
would
got,
say he's facilitating better this year than he has ever
yes,
before, and because
yes.
of that, it doesn't matter who's rest of his team is like other than him and Davis. As long as he can facilitate the way he does, the Lakers are going to go all the way.
He knows that he has Davis, and he knows he doesn't have to do it all. He's just working on making everyone else better, and that's what makes LeBron special. He's a team player. He's not always going to take over a game in the fourth. He we know he has, but he's not always. That's not like his specialty. His specialty is just being the best player on the court, knowing what he has to do, and getting the job done. Knowing how to win games tough, and if he has to take the shot, he will. But he also knows when to step back, and especially in year 17, he's learned how to because you can't do everything. Your whole career is impossible, but he's showing his longevity, and he's proving why he is one of the greatest of all time.
So let's go into the series of Miami versus Boston. 3 games in, Miami up 2-1. Miami having a very good run throughout the playoffs. I don't think many people predicted Miami to go this far. I don't think anyone's necessarily surprised that they were able to, but I think a lot of people had like the Raptors or the Bucks going this far. So, what are your takeaways from the first 2 games?
Defense and shooting win 2 games. The team can play incredible defense. So like they lock down when they have to. Jimmy Butler, terrific. And Bam Adebayo, terrific. He's just defending the interior so well. It's just he is such a prolific player. Just looking at his frame and his size. When you're driving in the paint, then you see that 6'10" Bam Adebayo, and you're just looking up at him. That block in game 2 to steal the game was, game 2 or game 1? Did he? Game 1.
Game 1.
Game 1. Sorry. In overtime. That's just a special play. One of the best blocks you'll ever see in the playoffs. Just the way he extended his arm to get there, to block Jason Tatum, the best player probably on the court, talent-wise. There's so many good things you could say about that play, but the rest of the series, Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson, it's hard to win when you have 2 3-point shooters that just aren't missing. They're automatic right now. You look at them in game and practice, they know that they're automatic from downtown. They're just doing it all. Tyler Hero, his passing, we've seen his passing abilities this series. Duncan Robinson, great story. Division III, went to Michigan, now playing with Miami, went undrafted, and he's just balling lights out from 3. And it's hard to beat a team that's locked in on defense and just they're hitting threes whenever they want. Also, special shout out to Jay Crowder because he is also, the renaissance of Jay Crowder is what we're seeing this playoffs. He's playing terrific basketball. Everyone that Miami and Eric Spoelstra are playing are getting the job done, and it's hard to beat a team that's hot. And right now, Miami just looks like one of those teams that just you don't know how to beat them. They're just playing that well on both ends of the floor.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you. I think like Miami, they've just like I said, they've been playing well throughout the entire series and like, throughout the entire playoffs, and they have that momentum after being the Milwaukee Bucks, the first seed, and they made it look so easy as well. So like having that as like a factor and like having that as their mentality, it's going to definitely be like taking you to a series against Boston. It's going to help you to like play even better. And I mean, you already mentioned that Bam Adebayo block. That's like probably the clutchest defensive play I've ever seen like in any like game of basketball. I think like the fact that if you watch him play, like the dunk was going to go in. Like there was no way it was going to
It was
pay off to.
just special play. That's all I can really say about it. Just special
Yeah.
ability. That's all. There's not too much else that you could really add to that incredible block.
Yeah, and I mean, Jimmy Butler, he's the type of player where even if he isn't scoring a lot in that game, he is doing all the little things. He is playing so well defensively. He is getting the ball to his players. There is so much Jimmy Butler offers to a game of basketball, and it's just amazing to watch. I think, after all the teams that Jimmy Butler has been through, he has always been a major factor for each team. Like he brought Chicago to the playoffs. He put Minnesota in the playoffs. He gave Sixers one of the best playoff runs in recent memory. And you're seeing him finally do what he can in Miami, finally seeing him go a distance. So I think all credit to Jimmy Butler and all credit to Eric Spoelstra as a coach because he has done an amazing job as well. And I do think that this series it's not over yet because Boston is a good team. Boston has so much talent on the team. Jason Tatum, Kemba Walker, Jalen Brown. They're not going to give up so easily. But
It
I
just
do
feels
think,
over because of the way Miami's been playing
yeah,
throughout the playoffs. Yeah.
yeah, I completely agree. It feels like could be over. I don't think it is because Boston's so talented. I think Boston is more talented than Toronto and Milwaukee.
I think it's all about game 4. Whoever wins game, I mean, even if Boston wins game 4, you still favor Miami. But if Miami wins game 4, then you're thinking 3-1 up the way they're playing.
It's gonna be
Yeah,
a far series.
pack the bags, leave Orlando. See you next year, Boston. That's what we're all rooting for as Toronto fans. We don't really like Boston, but at the end of the day, they're playing good basketball. But Miami is just a little bit better right now. We'll see how that plays out, and we'll break down the end of that series next week. But for now, we'll switch gears to the NHL. And Tampa Bay and the Dallas Stars are playing one hell of a series. They're tied 1-1 with Tampa Bay evening out the series on Monday night. But Dallas won game 1, and they're playing excellent hockey. How is this series going to end up?
I think now I figure you're disagreeing on this, but I give the series to Dallas. I think the teams that Dallas have faced throughout the playoffs have almost all of them been betting against Dallas, and Dallas has kind of like merged as like the favorite in all of them. Like, and they were like a tough matchup. They were like Calgary, Colorado, Vegas. I think Tampa Bay's path wasn't necessarily easier, but like I mean,
Dallas is
Islanders are
just tough.
definitely Islanders a
Yeah.
tough matchup. Boston, they didn't have Tuukka Rask.
But Dallas is just a really tough.
Dallas had three
Yeah.
very tough teams to face, and I think that momentum really carries in hockey. And I think they have probably better defense than Tampa Bay, which could really like disrupt their offense a lot. And kind of like and Tampa's offensive powerhouse, but if they don't get it going, Dallas can I think take it home. I think the series will go like 7 because both teams are great and they're playing great hockey. But I give it the edge to Dallas.
Yeah, there's no way to separate. You have two teams that are just flying down the ice. Game 2 was so much fun to watch. Both teams are just I almost slipped out an F-bomb. I mean, both teams are just so quick. They fly down the ice, and there's just no way to tell the way each individual game is going to go because you just don't know what's going to happen. A bounce goes this way, a bounce goes that way. You have two hot goalies, two great teams going at it. And it's hard to really analyze what's going on because it's just every game is so different from these two teams. But you have a lot of heart, you have a lot of energy, and you have a lot of passion going out. They're going all out, and it's tough to call. I'm gonna agree with you. I think Dallas in 7 games. I know the series is going to 7 because they're so evenly matched. Sometimes in hockey when a series is going 7, this one's probably going 7, and it's tough to call. I'm just buying into the Anton Hudobin hype. He's a lot of fun. What a character. He reminds me of Simeon Verma. No, not who's the old Flyers backup goalie? Was that Varlamov?
No, that's
Elliot?
Elliot.
No. Like the Russian dude. You guys had a Russian, but you guys had a Russian goalie for years. Was it Varlamov?
Brizgalov?
Brizgalov. Yeah, Brizgalov. Sorry. Anton Hudobin just reminds me of Ilya Brizgalov just in personality. That old style kind of like a Russian European style of hockey. But yeah, everyone in Dallas kind of bought around him. They're just a fun team to watch. So for that and only that, I'll pick Dallas in 7 because these two teams are so evenly matched, and there's really no way to separate them based on their performances in the playoffs because they've both been fantastic hockey teams.
Completely agree on that.
We bring it back to the NFL where we are now 2 weeks in, and it's been a crazy 2 weeks in football. Football's back, though, and it's been a lot of fun. If you're a gambler, if you play fantasy sports, if you're still in your survivor pool, I wish you all luck. But for now, we'll break down what we've seen in the first 2 weeks and just from some of the big teams. Let's start with the Dallas Cowboys just because of that incredible comeback win. We all know I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan. I'll tell you guys what I thought about the game afterwards, but I'll let you guys both start on what you made on Mike McCarthy's Dallas Cowboys, no longer Jason Garrett's.
I think that first game was a very disappointing start to the Cowboys into this new era of the Cowboys without Jason Garrett. And I mean, I think every Cowboy fan could agree that the biggest thing looking forward to this season was the lack of Jason Garrett. But I mean, to lose the first game out of the gate like that definitely must have been really, really disappointing, And but honestly, credit to the second week. They've made incredible comeback. If you remember, we were like making fun of you as a Cowboys fan because of that terrible first quarter in that first half. But honestly, all credit to Cowboys to make a comeback. Dak Prescott, like, did outstanding in the second half of the game. And yeah, do I think that the Cowboys, that this is the year for the Cowboys? Do I think that they're going to win the Super Bowl this year? No, because they're simply just better teams in the league. But like, if they could play like they did in week 2, they have a good chance of making a playoff run.
Yeah, no, it was very interesting seeing game 1 losing the way they did. And I mean, I don't know how much of a fair chance we could give to Mike McCarthy at the moment. We don't know how he's going to be for the rest of the season, but you can tell that there is a little bit of a difference. In particular, in this Atlanta game, the defensively, Dallas was something. There was something going on there. They gotta really fix that up. There's something. It's really concerning. I don't know if Dallas fans are the same thing, but I would imagine. But the thing about Dallas is they just have the offensive weapons to come back. Elliott and Dak Prescott playing pretty well on Sunday, and to make a crazy comeback. Really, it was quite insane. Even just as a neutral. So just watching that was kind of crazy, and it should be interesting to see where they go from here.
Okay. Again, I've learned nothing from the Cowboys. Game 1, again, I was disappointed. Because they didn't play that great on offense. Defensively, they held their own a little bit more. But yeah, they were in it. They could have got that bogus pass interference call. Yeah, we talk about that all day long, but at the end of the day, they still were the worst team. So you can't really point to one call that a ref made and say, "Oh, look, that's the reason we lost." Any Cowboys fan trying to claim that just grasping for straws. We didn't play very well on Sunday night. But Mike McCarthy out of football for a year. I don't think he even watched football. He said he was so depressed. Whatever. You're making $1 million, Mike McCarthy. I don't know why you're depressed getting fired from Green Bay. Anyways, now he's on Dallas. We'll see what he brings. But just the offense was slow and was predictable in game 1. He's always running the ball with Zeke Elliott in first down. They have so much offensive talent, and this is a year that you have to decide if you want to pay Dak Prescott $40 million. So why not give him the ball the most with the weapons that he has surrounding him? You just locked up Amari Cooper. CeeDee Lamb is going to be an absolute star for years to come, and Michael Gallup's your third option. Tight ends, Dalton Schultz looks like he's going to be a good tight end. Nothing special, but he'll fulfill his role to whatever capacity is needed in the Dallas Cowboys offense. But in game 2, it's a complete embarrassment on defense. There's no one on that defense that really impressed me, except for Aldon Smith, I'd say, throughout for the first 2 weeks. But he, again, hasn't played football like in 2 years. So credit to Aldon Smith. I'm going to enjoy watching him and his comeback story this year. But DeMarcus Lawrence, not good enough. The entire D-line needs to step up. You just got Everson Griffin from Minnesota. He should be playing better. Anyways, it's only 2 weeks in. You escape with a miracle win. Thank you, Atlanta, for not falling on the onside kick. That was one of the weirdest decisions I'll ever see. It's basically impossible. The NFL basically made it impossible to recover onside kicks, which doesn't make sense because if I'm the NFL, I'd want it to be, I'd want the receiving team kicking the onside kick to have a better percentage than they do. Just the way it's set up, you can't get a running start. Yet Dallas still recovered it, kicked the game-winning field goal. You win 40-39. You could talk about all the decisions that went into that game. You could talk about Dallas going for 2 and not converting. Atlanta went for 2 early in the year. You could talk about all the stats. You could talk about decisions. At the end of the day, if you're a Dallas Cowboy and you're looking at it from their perspective, you can say all you want. Great comeback from Dak Prescott. Great heart, great fight, great spirit. All that I agree with. But my question is, why even down 15 to Atlanta? I know it's not a very good team. You could say the turnovers were a fluke in the first quarter. You're not going to turn the ball over 3 times in like a 10-play span every game. That just doesn't happen. But it's about the next weeks going forward. because you're going to win that division. The division stinks. The whole NFC East is a complete joke. So Dallas is just automatically in the playoffs, not because they're not necessarily better than everyone else, because everyone else stinks. You could win the division with seven wins. That's the reality of playing in the NFC East. The question is, can Dallas kick on? Because their fans expect a Super Bowl. They expect a Super Bowl run after years of Jason Garrett and this years of Garrett sucking the life out of every Cowboys fan. So now you have new life. Mike McCarthy, what can you bring to this team that is completely different from Jason Garrett? I want to see more creativity. Let's use play action more. Get Dak Prescott going. You have quick, fast receivers that will get open for you. And I don't want to be down 15 to Atlanta with 7 minutes or with 5 minutes left in any game. When you look at that game, you could say good for them for winning, but I've been down this road too many times. It's Super Bowl or bust for the Cowboys. Too much offensive talent. Defensively, they haven't showed up yet, so we'll see if they can in the coming weeks. But good. You won. Now let's see what you do going forward. You got Seattle next week. Seattle's playing great. Russell Wilson, possible MVP for this year, and that's how I'll finish off. Can you back up coming back and all that emotions and bring it again against a very good Seahawks team next week? Speaking of the Seahawks, they played a very good game on Sunday night, beating the New England Patriots, the Tom Brady-less New England Patriots. But Cam Newton is doing one hell of a job down in Foxborough. It was a great game. And Daria, as a New England fan, what are your takeaways from watching that game?
It's weird. I never had a loss where I don't feel as bad as I should. To be honest, it was a great game. It was a great football game in general. The performance from New England was up there as one of my favorites in recent times, just because there was a lot of heart. Cam Newton specifically really impressing the entire league, I would say. There are obviously issues, and that's going to come. That's why Cam Newton has been more focused on running than passing. You could tell that there was an issue communication-wise. Josh McDaniels and him, they didn't seem to have on the same wavelength yet, but I feel like that's something that can improve throughout the season. But in terms of just the general performance, everybody was kind of there, and I felt this feeling that I haven't had even on the last year with Tom Brady, where there's a bit of excitement, optimism, and I generally do think this. I think New England is in need of a big weapon still for them to make a deep playoff run, but that to me is the only thing they really require right now in terms of their running game, in terms of their passing, and defensively as well. They are very impressive. Again, it's 2 games. You can't say that much yet. I'm being more optimistic now than I was in the start of the season or before the first game. That being said, Cam Newton is an complete opposite. I told you guys, opposite of Tom Brady as a whole. He's more mobile. He's more quick. And generally that's a nice thing to see in New England. Whether that will continue on in the season is another thing. And I love Tom Brady, but it's great to see a different New England Patriots as a whole. And I'm very excited to see where we go from this. And us being 1-1 is not the worst case scenario against a Seahawks team, which were very impressive. We have to give credit to them. Pete Carroll, as usual, is an outstanding coach. And I have to be honest, this game was very reminiscent to me of the many times we played Seattle. We always have these incredible games against them, not just the Super Bowl, but just regular season games as well. And just generally, we got beaten by a better side, and it went down to the last few minutes, the last few seconds, really. But overall, though, I have to say I'm impressed, and I'm very, very looking forward to what New England can provide in the future, or what can happen for this team.
Yeah, New England has a top 3 defense in the league. Pittsburgh's number 1 because Pittsburgh's defense is incredible. The way they've built that, Pittsburgh is going to be a very good team this year. They're maybe not give Baltimore a run for their money in that, but they're for sure going to be a wild card team as long as Baltimore kind of does what they're supposed to in the regular season. They have a fairly easy schedule. If you're Baltimore, they'll be favorites in most games. Maybe you drop 2 or 3. And that happens in football, but we'll see what happens in that division. But Pittsburgh is going to be a tough beat this year because Big Ben being back, they have offensive weapons: Juju, Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool. We've seen in the first 2 weeks, he's made some great sideline catches. He got his first touchdown. So shout out to the Canadian Chase Claypool. You always love to see Canadians do well in American sports because Americans think they rule the world, but it's nice when Canadians kind of always show up and do a little something in the big moments. But yeah, with going back to New England, they still have a great defense. Stephon Gilmore still the best corner in the league. Just the question is, can Cam Newton win games on his own? And it's going to be tough in some games because New England doesn't have great weapons on offense. Julian Edelman's a slot receiver, but he's not catching 30-yard bombs downfield. Every drive can N'Keal Harry do a job for you? Can whoever else Bill Belichick's pulling off the practice squad? How is Bill Belichick going to kind of incorporate these offensive guys into his system to kind of fit around Cam Newton? You can't run every game with Cam Newton, but he's a threat. We've seen the first 2 games he could be comeback player of the year if they end up making the playoffs, which they should, because outside of the Bills, again, the division just sucks. But New England did a good job of getting Cam Newton because he's one of those guys that under Bill Belichick, who obviously is the greatest coach of all time. He's a former MVP. He's a guy that could get going and obviously cause excitement for you guys. And it's a low risk deal for $1 million. You really can't go wrong making a deal like that.
Yeah, I think you guys said it all pretty much. And this was not a game Patriots should be ashamed of losing at all because Seattle's a great team and they played it was a good game. It was it could have easily gone to the Patriots by the end of the game, and unfortunately, for you guys, it didn't. But you guys can look this is a season to look forward to because you guys can see what Cam Newton can do now. We always known Cam Newton has that athletic ability as a quarterback, and definitely more athletic than Brady ever was. So and now that he has Belichick, like Evan said, he has Belichick's system to work with. We can really kind of see him thrive. Hopefully, see him thrive this year as a quarterback, and to kind of become that level of a quarterback that he was a few years back.
We can't cover every NFL game, but something I want to do is let's just do let's do 2 takeaways that kind of we've seen this from around the league. Kind of what you noticed, what's kind of what do you think is going to happen, throughout the year? Kind of trends that you kind of noticed. Matthew, I could start with you. Kind of what's just a few things that stood out for you watching these NFL games early on.
One thing for sure is definitely the amount of injuries that occurred in the past 2 weeks. I mean, even people talk about the week 2 injuries, but week 1 had a lot too. Michael Thomas, Marlon Mack. There was another big one. I'm forgetting his name right now. I forgot his name, but there were definitely 3 or 4 injuries, pretty big injuries, high-caliber players. And then this week 2, it was just another level with Chris McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley.
The 49ers lost a few guys. Nick Bosa's gone for the year.
Yeah, the 49ers basically lost their entire team, essentially.
It's crazy.
You go up and down the league, and everyone is just dropping like flies. Even in the Monday night game, you lost a few guys. Sunday night, I think you guys had a pretty clean game, thankfully. But, yeah, the whole day was just guys dropping. Tough to see because you never want to see guys go down, the way they have just with long-term injuries. ACLs are tough, man, and you've seen probably 5 or 6. Probably even more. We've probably been close to 10 ACL injuries in 2 weeks, so you never want to see that. The one that's coming to me is Blake Jarwin, tight end for the Cowboys. Just non-contact week 1, just the leg buckled, something happened, ACL gone. Just tough. You never want to see injuries, but as you've said, injuries big factor that we've seen over the first 2 weeks for whatever reason. Short training camp, maybe a lack of preseason, who knows, but. They've been dropping so far. Daria?
No, I was gonna say injuries as well. But one of the coolest things is watching on Monday night was the first time we're seeing Vegas in the NFL. I thought that was really awesome. I don't know if you guys saw the game, but it was a beautiful stadium. I absolutely loved it. It reminded me a lot of the kind of like the Saints stadium and or Atlanta, and it was quite new. I don't know. I'm really excited to see I'm gonna say Oakland, the Las Vegas Raiders in there, and that was quite cool to see.
Yeah, I'm excited for fans because when you have that stadium filled up, or even the Los Angeles Rams, they have a crazy stadium now, like that $5 billion Coliseum. But yeah, we're missing fans for sure. I think my takeaway is that there's been a lot of flags in third down. We've seen a lot of pass interferences, a lot of holding, more so than I've seen in the years. For whatever reason, there's been a lot of, I think, pass interferences on like third downs. I think just corners or safeties are getting beat. They're holding, and the NFL's being a lot more strict on calling those. I've seen, I don't know about you guys, but I've seen a lot of pass interference on third down, or even a holding or something. But there's been a lot of flags on third downs.
Yeah, I agree with that. And like you said, not just pass interference and holding, but in general, there's been a lot of flags these past 2 weeks, and I don't know what the cause that is, but like
There's been less false starts, I found,
mm,
and like less kind of pre-snap penalties, like less encroachment. But I think a big reason for that is no fans. Like they can hear a lot better. So the offense, like no one's really jumping on the offensive line. False starts are kind of like it's you don't really the fans usually don't notice. It's usually the refs. They notice like a little flinch from the leg of a 300-pound dude sitting on the offensive line. So false starts are incredibly tough to call, but you have the guy staring right there. But yeah, I've seen a lot less pre-snap penalties and just a lot more kind of just grabbing and holding, and kind of those are being called a lot more early in the season. But those are my NFL takeaways. Week 3 is coming up. We have some great matchups. Dallas, Seattle. You have Kansas City, Baltimore, Monday night. That's going to be the game of the week. And I'm sure there's a lot more great games on the schedule. So stay tuned for that. We'll break that down next week. But to finish off the show, we're going to talk about the Premier League. We are 2 fixtures in. Most teams have played 2 games. Some teams have played 1. So Daria and I will break down our Premier League standings, how we think it's going to finish. We're 2 weeks in, so we kind of have an idea of what some of the teams are going to bring. But as we all know, if you're a Premier League fan, absolutely anything can happen in the last 36 match weeks. So Daria, we'll start with you. Relegation. Who do you have in that relegation spot, in those 3 relegation spots?
It's so tough though, because we don't know the transfer window. The transfer window hasn't ended yet, so anything can happen. But as of right now, God, it's between. Okay, I would say bottom right now is Fulham. Mm-hmm. I just think defensively and offensively that team is kind of just all over the place. I don't think, as much as I love Scott Parker as a coach, I just don't see them having too much of a chance. In 19th, I have West Bromwich Albion. West Brom just don't have any offensive weapons at all. They are completely deprived.
You have that guy from West Ham they just bought. They have 2 guys.
Oh, yes.
Pereira and I can't pronounce the guy's last name. Grady Diagnania, or however you want to pronounce his last name.
Right.
I will learn how to pronounce the name for next week. But they have 2 guys on offense, but the rest of the team I for sure agree is very very weak.
And
they're relying a lot on those 2 players, Pereira and Diagnania.
Yeah. For my 18th pick, I would go Burnley. I actually think this will be the first year that they get caught off guard. As much as I love Sean Dyche, and I know you're not a big fan of, I have a feeling that this might be the year they get caught for just their style of play in general. It's very rigid, and the Premier League is often, it's good for them in the Premier League to survive as many years, but I think this might be their year where they are caught off.
I agree with Fulham and West Brom. They haven't strengthened their squads enough. Probably COVID hasn't helped them because they haven't really been able to go into the transfer market like other teams. They're probably just getting their money and kind of without fans, they're not really making any revenue. So they really haven't spent. My other team, that was West Ham. I'm just not sold on that team.
Oh, wow.
They just seem like a lot of individuals without much of a plan. David Moyes, I'd be surprised if he's not sacked within 3 months. I think they're going to struggle early on. I don't like West Ham. Like Haller, they bought as a striker, but they keep playing, what's his name? Mikel Antonio up top. And it feels like their system isn't built to succeed. But they have good players. Like, it's weird. Center backs, Issa Diop's good. They have good fullbacks. But when I look at West Ham, whenever they play, it's so uninspired. They have Declan Rice. They have good individual players. But as a team, I think they're going to get caught up a lot. They finished 17th last year. They were lucky that just a lot of teams were worse than them. But
Definitely.
there's a lot of good teams this year. I think we have a lot of good coaches. This is gonna be I think the best year that the Premier League has had in a while because it's a lot closer in competition. And I think West Ham, if their mentality isn't right from the get go, they will be in trouble going forward, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go 17 to 10. I'll let you just read out who you have 17 to 10, and then
Okay.
yeah, we'll go from there.
Okay, so for 17th, I'm gonna put Brighton. I should make this clear. I actually originally had them in my bottom three, but I'm thinking about it, and the way they've been coached recently, they've always found a way to stay up in recent years. Even every year I've predicted them to go down, they always seem to stay up, and I think it's just because they have like they have a lot of balanced. I want to say balanced players, very much of the same caliber. And I think that isn't a terrible thing in the Premier League. I think that could really benefit them. And as long as they're scoring goals, I can see that Brighton team doing all right. Just staying off, I would say, if that's considered all right. I'm not sure. For 16th, this may be a surprise to many. I think it'll be Sheffield United.
I have Sheffield at 16 too.
Oh, wow.
I have Sheffield at 16. Yeah,
that is crazy.
Second year curse. Look, all their players, they don't look. It looks like Chris Wilder kind of had a system that worked last year, but I mean, in the second year, people get figured out, and Sheffield just haven't added enough talent, in my opinion. With losing Dean Henderson, I think Dean Henderson made a lot of good saves. I think he gave them a lot of extra points, and kind of they're riding the momentum of being up last year, and kind of almost claiming a European spot. But just looking at Sheffield this year, they haven't really added anyone, and with losing Dean Henderson, I think it's gonna be tough to win games for this team. And I think with everyone else getting better, Sheffield are going to have a challenge kind of playing the exact same system, and they really only have one system to play. So that's what worries me about Sheffield United.
Yeah, I think it'll be second year syndrome for them, to be honest. And for all those reasons, are they in Europe this year?
No.
They're not in Europe.
No.
Okay. Well, either way, I don't know. I think they'll feel it definitely this season. And especially with losing Dean Henderson is quite a big loss. But yeah, moving on from that, this one is also, I think, might be a bit unpopular. I know they started the season well, but I do think Crystal Palace. And personally, as much as I love that front three that they got going there with Wilfred Zaha and oh goodness, I forgot all the rest. Oh,
Ayew.
Is it Ayew? Yeah, Andre Ayew. They have a general good front three. I'm forgetting.
And Townsend.
And Townsend. That's it. Yes. But defensively, they have always worried me. And although I think Roy Hodgson is a great coach, I just think I have a feeling they'll start the season really well as they have, and they'll kind of drop off near the end. I feel like that's the type of side they have become in recent years. But yeah, I would put them in 15th. And 14th, I would put West Ham. And the reason I'm putting West Ham personally is because you kind of said the individual talent is there, and I feel like it depends. If the transfer window ends and Declan Rice, as well as other players like Yarmolenko and Antonio are still there, I can see them staying up. But that, I think, is a pretty big factor. If they even lose one of those players, I feel like they can really have some issues. And I don't really think David Moyes will stay in charge either. I'm saying them in 14th, but I don't think he'll stay in charge for the rest of the season. And then for 13th, I got Aston Villa. Not much to really say about them. I feel like they just generally, as a side, have improved. They've gotten some nice acquisitions. And generally, I've always liked the way they've kind of set up. And yeah, honestly, there's not much to say about them. I'm quite excited to see what they can do. Southampton in 12th for me. Now, Southampton started off really poor last season and have really improved at the second half, especially post-lockdown. And they're well coached as well. I think Danny Ings is great. I think he's a really underrated striker in the Premier League, and I'm excited to see what they do with him moving forward. I feel like they're well coached, well managed for that matter, and I think that's a really important thing for a Premier League side to have. So I think they'll be in 12th. And 11th is Newcastle. The thing about Newcastle is I usually am the one who's really harsh on them, just because the way their owners, I'm sure their fans are too, their owners have been quite how should I say it? Mike Ashley has not been the great. Stingy, yeah, stingy. And even though they were supposed to have a buyout, Saudi Arabian club was supposed to take over.
Mike Ashley was not so much.
And you notice how as soon as that was pulled off or was gone, he started spending money, and he started getting some quite cool, good players offensively at least. I think they have enough to stay up. I think they're well managed enough to stay up. And yeah, so I would say 11th. And 10th is Leeds United. Honestly, I've seen how they started the season, and to be honest, they have impressed me quite a bit. Even before that, they made some really good signings, and I love Helder Costa. I love that guy. He's fantastic on the wing. They just generally, I like Patrick Bamford's. I think is a great improvement for that side. I know, and there's a lot of defensively they're a little bit weak, but offensively they have everything to me that can challenge for the top half of the table.
All right, I'll quickly go through mine. I have Aston Villa at 17th. I'm not a big fan of Dean Smith. Defensively, they still have a lot of holes there, but I think just the bottom three is a lot worse than them, so I think Aston Villa will kind of just escape there. Sheffield, that's at 16. We mentioned all the reasons why. Second-year syndrome, for sure, I think is going to play a part, but again, time will tell. I have Southampton at 15. I think they'll do just enough to stay up. Danny Ings is going to score 20. He'll get his goals. I think he'll be around 12 to 15 this year. Underrated striker, as you mentioned, for sure. And they have enough pieces. James Ward-Prowse in the midfield, he does what they have to do, and they're well coached. I think the big factor is I think they've all bought into Ralph Hasenhutl's system, but I think just other teams above them just have that edge on them. So we'll keep going. I have Burnley at 14. Again, I'm not a big fan of the way they play, but they get the job done. And I've seen nothing from them that suggests that they're going to be near the relegation zone. I think 14th is just the right place for them. They'll get their goals. They have a lot of size, which will obviously help them in the Premier League. They score a lot from set pieces, and I just think I'm not gonna go against what works, and I'm not gonna throw them in the relegation zone because I don't like them. They get points. They do what they have to do. They frustrate teams. They piss people off, and for that reason, I have them slotted at 14. Newcastle, I have at 13. Simply because I think they're just a balanced team. They're not going to look great every week, but I think they'll have enough weeks where they are better than their opponent, and they usually beat teams that they're better than. Again, defensively, they have good players, a great goalie in Dubravka when he's healthy, and they get enough goals from guys like, say, Maximin. They have a lot of pace up top, which should help them against teams that are worse than them. Leeds, I have at 12, simply because I think defensively they give up a lot of goals. The way they play is they score a lot, but they'll also give up goals, which won't always work in the Premier League because the well-organized teams that kind of are able to sit back and shut the door and counterattack, they're going to have success. Some of those teams are going to have success against Leeds if Leeds kind of are a little greedy in some matches and they kind of overeager to kind of score. So just for that reason, I have Leeds at 12. I think Leeds can finish a little worse. I think a lot of people have higher expectations for Leeds because of Biala, but they'll for sure stay up. I think Leeds are going to be around 12, 13, 14. But they'll be a fun watch no matter what. Leeds is going to be must-watch TV, just the way they play. So I think Leeds fans are happy to be back in the Premier League, and the Premier League is happy to have Leeds back because they are for sure box office stuff when they play. At 11, I have Brighton. I like Graham Potter a lot. I think they've made the right signings. Tariq Lamptey from Chelsea. He's shown his quality. He left because he knew he wasn't going to get above Reece James. Just two excellent right backs over there. So Lamptey to Brighton, he's looked terrific in his first two matches, 2 man-of-the-match performances. And again, Neil Maupay scores the goals. They're just a balanced team. And they all seem to be having fun at Brighton. So I'll slot them in at 11. And finally, I have Crystal Palace at 10. I think they've made the right signings. We saw they beat United last week. Zaha, terrific player. I hope he gets his move to a bigger club because I think he's been carrying that Palace team for a while. And then they made a good signing in Eberiche Eze. I think he's a talented young player, so hopefully he'll show his qualities for Crystal Palace. But that is my 17 to 10.
Wow, it's kind of crazy. We have a lot of basically the same teams. Obviously, there's different positions, but we roughly have the same teams in that area.
And I think we have that for that reason because the 1 through 9 is very, very close, and
Oh man, yeah.
you have 9 excellent teams. So we'll go up the list. So Dario, we'll do. Who do you have at the 9 spot?
I got Leicester City. I
Yeah.
got Leicester City. Yeah,
Yeah.
I just think, honestly, I always put them higher, but it's simply because Brendan Rodgers is their coach, and every time he coaches a team, they seem to have a great start, and then they just drop off significantly by the tail end, and that was proven last season. But besides it being for the coach, I think Jamie Vardy, as much as I love him, I don't think he can consistently
A little bit more of a decline. Yeah, it's going to be.
There'll be definitely that.
Yeah.
And although they brought in new players such as Parrett, I believe his name is.
Yeah, Dennis Pratt. I think they had Pratt last year, but who they bring in? They for sure.
Adrian Silva? Was Adrian Silva still there?
No, I don't know who Leicester brought in this year. They brought in that right back, Timothy.
Oh yes. Yeah. I know who you're talking about.
That's I think that was their one signing. I can't think of anyone else that they really brought in.
Timothy Castigan.
Yeah.
Castigan. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But other than that, I mean, I don't really trust this Brendan Rodgers side to finish higher than 9th, really, especially with the teams ahead of it.
I just think the top 8 are just – you can't get away with bad performances. I think last year everyone was kind of bad, but everyone's improved this year. So we're going to see a lot of improvement, and Leicester kind of haven't strengthened the squad where they've had to. So we both have Leicester at 9. Daria, who do you have in the 8th spot?
I got Wolves. I think that they are just generally a great side. Or Portugal, for that matter. They're called, I guess, at this
Portugal FC at this point, for sure.
No, but I love. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Nuno's loving the Portuguese experiment for sure.
Yeah, it's a Portuguese experiment. I feel like they got the weapons with Raul Jimenez. I think they're generally a great side to watch, and it's a great project they got going there. And I think it'll just be enough for them to finish 8th.
Again, the only reason I have Wolves at 8 is I think just the rest of the teams have more talent. Adama is a lot of fun to watch. He's an animal on the pitch. He's so quick and so strong that when he's in open space, it's tough to beat. So again, against teams that like against the top 6, when they're going to have opportunities to counterattack Wolves, I think they're going to have a dangerous counterattack. So I agree, Wolves at 8. They could be at 7, but the team I have at 7 is Spurs.
Oh wow, okay, that's different for me. I got Everton.
Got everything.
So, why do you think Spurs?
Mourinho I think isn't the same coach that he used to be, and I think counterattacking just doesn't work if you're a top 6 team. I think they need to be more on the front foot on him, and I think they play a lot of negative football. I don't know why he's frozen out Tanguy and Ndombele, because I think he's a terrific talent, and I think he can improve them a lot. But I think they've made the right signings. I think having Gareth Bale now maybe changes it, and Reguilon, the left back from Real Madrid. So it's tough to kind of put them at 7. I just think the teams above them are a little bit stronger. But Spurs, if Mourinho kind of gets that second year thing right, then they could be a lot more dangerous, especially if Gareth Bale, returns anything close to form. Whether it's at Spurs or early on in Real Madrid, because we all know what the quality that Gareth Bale has. So I think Harry Kane's going to have a good year because no matter what, we've seen what Mourinho does with strikers. Drogba, terrific striker. Benzema at Real Madrid. Inter Milan had terrific strikers. And at United, Lukaku. He makes strikers score goals. That's what he does. And Harry Kane is probably one of the most talented strikers. Probably Drogba, Drogba and Benzema kind of just on, history and talent and pedigree alone. Kind of you stick above there, but Harry Kane is the second best striker in the world after Lewandowski. So I expect Harry Kane to win the Golden Boot this year. Heung-min Son, he's had a terrific start to the year, 4-goal performance against Southampton. So credit to him. I know that makes Matthew smile, representing South Korea very well. Heung-min Son, he's a terrific player, though. Don't get me wrong, clinical finisher. You can't say anything bad about his game because he flies down the pitch, Heung-min Son. Terrific skill. So Spurs are lucky to have him. But that's why I have him at 7, just because the team I have at 6 is Everton. I think Everton's going to have a terrific year under Carlo Ancelotti. Do you have Spurs at 6? I'm
It's
guessing
actually
you have Spurs
the
at 6. Yeah.
exact opposite. Yeah.
I'm buying into James this year. Richarlison, I think, is going to have a good year. I am a big fan of Richarlison. He's had a bit of a slow start to start, but again, we're only 2 weeks in. I think Richarlison may have between 15 and 20 goals this year under Ancelotti's system. I think they made the right midfield signings. I think Allen and Decour really are, good defensive presences to have. They do all the hard work in the running. Allen kind of sits back and controls the game, while Decour is kind of like a free spirit. He runs wherever, and he's an incredibly athletic player. We saw that at Watford. So terrific buy as they went down. So they got him maybe a bit cheaper than they could have in other years. But I think Everton made the right signings. James, terrific player, kind of escaping Real Madrid and the bench over there. So I like Carlo Ancelotti. I like what they have going on. The only question is Jordan Pickford. He's made some questionable decisions over the last few years in net. So as long as he doesn't make any, crazy mistakes, there's a balanced team. They have great fullbacks in Luca Digne and Seamus Coleman. Yerry Mina is a very good center back. Michael Keane is pretty good, but he's a good second guy to have. So just can they limit their mistakes, everything? Because offensively, they'll be a threat. We saw it against Spurs. They were the better team against Spurs, and then against West Brom, they struggled early, but they got the job done, and with 5 goals. So
can I just say what a crazy season this is going to be? I'm seeing Spurs with Gareth Bale and the coached by Jose Mourinho, and imagine with Harry Kane, Hunman's son. Oh my goodness, it's just a great combination. And then you got Everton and James Rodriguez, and I think Dominic Calvert-Lewin will be great this season for them.
Yeah,
and I think
we haven't even mentioned him. Yeah, he should have a good year. He's off to a good start. Hat-trick against West Brom, goal against Spurs, so he's up to 4. So yeah, he's had a flying start so far. Now, here's where it gets interesting. The top 5.
Yeah, no.
Actually, I think let's go 1 and 2 to start. Who do you have at 1 and 2?
Oh, 1 and 2. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh goodness. Okay, so my second is Liverpool, and my first is City. The reason being, I feel like City they've made the right acquisitions. Although they haven't had to make a lot, I think Pep Guardiola really has a statement to make in this season, and they surely can't be as bad as they were last season. And I feel like with the new acquisitions they got, I feel like they're more well-balanced than they were last season. And it really depends on their style of play is always great. It's just how consistent can they be? And City are usually a consistent team. Now, as a United fan, I like me putting them me putting Liverpool in second is not me being biased. Is me simply saying.
Look, you hate both City and Liverpool.
That should be noted. That should be noted.
Yeah, no, it's a toss up completely. But you know what? The season's good. This is what's going to come down to Liverpool. Are they going to be as consistent as last year? Because City's going to be better. They're going to beat up on the small teams, and they'll be within 90 points against City. The question is, can Liverpool not? Are they going to close out games? Because they win a lot of close games. They're very compact. They're tough to beat defensively. They don't give many goals. But they don't really blow anyone away. The question is anyone really going to kind of surprise them? Is anyone going to nick a win against them? Like, is a Burnley or a Newcastle or a Brighton? That's what the question is going to be for Liverpool. We saw they beat Chelsea. They struggled a bit to score in the first half. They couldn't really break them down until they had 10 men. But the question for Liverpool is, can they win as many close games as they did last year? And I can't see a team winning that many close games again. I think City have strengthened. But the question for City is defense. Aki's not a world beater at defense. Laporte, if he's healthy, should be in there, but he's still coming off his long-term injury. So the question is, how much better is City going to be defensively? Because Liverpool for sure have a better defense, better goalie. Because Ederson has, a mistake or two in him, and Alisson, we've seen, has been one of the most consistent goalies in the world. I'd rank him at 2. I think Oblak's number 1, Alisson probably number 2. But you saw Van Dijk. So Liverpool, it's a 2-horse race again for me. I think Chelsea and Arsenal and United are a tier below. But we'll rank where we think they're because I'm pretty sure we all have them in the 3, 4, 5 spots, Daria.
Yeah.
The question is, where have we placed them? So Daria, I'll start with you. Number 5.
Number 5 for me is Arsenal. I love the Arteta project. I think it's really going well for them, and I do think it will. Aubameyang staying for them is quite big, but I think they're just short this season. I feel like they require someone in that midfield, and I just think that will cost them in the end compared to the other 4 teams above them.
And so I want to guess you have United at 4.
I do have United 4, yes. As a United fan, I was honestly in between 4th and 5th at the way this transfer window has ended up. It's been quite disappointing. I think Van der Beek will be a great signing for us, but overall we have not strengthened in the positions we need to, and it's really frustrating as a supporter. So going into this season, I want to be honest, I'm a little bit pessimistic at our chances. Although I am still putting them in 4th, I do think that we're going to struggle, especially with European football. We do not have the depth right now. As much as some fans want to say, we don't have that. And I do think Ole's a good coach. I think I think this will be a season we can really get the test of Ole. I personally believe in him as that he's a great coach and that he can do something for the future. But I think the board hasn't been backing him. Ed Woodward has not been backing him. And I feel like this is going to really cost him this season. And I'm just hoping, this is my bet, the thing I'm hoping is that we do not go through this cycle of going through a bad run of results and then say, okay, Ole out, and then we repeat the same thing over and over again. I think a lot of United fans are really frustrated and pissed off about that. So that's my hope. But I'm going to say 4th. But by the way, this can change depending on if something miraculous happens in the next 2 weeks with Sancho or getting Tellez or whoever getting our combo of many players. So, yeah, so I have them in 4th. And in 3rd, I have Chelsea. I don't like putting them above United, but I have to be realistic here and say that in terms of quality, they have had the best transfer window. By far. They have made the right choices in a lot of positions, although there's still places to fix, especially goalkeeping. I think as a team, Chelsea can really, really kick on, but I don't think they'll kick on just yet. I think it'll take some time. We're kind of seeing in the first 2 games, a lot of players need to gel. There's some that are injured at the moment. But I think Frank Lampard will do a great job with that team. He has done a great job with that team. And I think he'll just continue on into this coming season. So I put them 3rd.
Yeah, before I kind of go off on my opinions on the 3, 4, 5, because I have a lot to say about those teams. That's right. I have United at 5. And they could be 6 with Europa League football because they are an injury away from being absolutely screwed. They're Bruno Fernandes injury away. They're Martial injury away. I think Bruno is the absolute engine in that team. Bruno so far has looked like the only one that cares in the first they've only played 1 match compared to most teams playing 2, but Bruno was the only one that actually looked like he gave a damn against Crystal Palace. He's tracking back 50 yards, and when guys like Scott McTominay, the CDM, was just jogging back, I'm pretty sure you know what play I'm referring to in the first half with when Zaha was running down the line and kind of just had McTominay kind of and I'm not trying to take a dig at McTominay because I like him. I think he's being played in the wrong position. He's not a CDM. He's a box-to-box. We saw his capabilities last year. He's being playing in the wrong position. Van de Beek's a good signing for you guys, but Ollie's not the right manager going forward. I think there's too many quality managers in the top flight this year, and you can't just counterattack anymore. You can't just have that free-flowing style that Ollie just kind of gives them the creativity to kind of play what they want. But United have such a young team that they need structure. They have so many young players that – sorry, yeah, I'll let you
No, sorry, I was just going to say, I feel like I get what you're saying about Ole, but I have to be honest, that's something Sir Alex Ferguson played a lot with during his tenure, was this freestyling football, letting the individuals to play. I do agree with the structure, though. I do think that is something that Ole needs experience with, and he hasn't gotten that yet. But this season could be that. I don't know. Maybe it can.
Here's United's problem. They don't have a plan B. Ollie doesn't have a plan B. That's Ollie's problem. And Ollie's not the biggest problem. Ollie is not the biggest problem, but he is a problem. You're never going to win a trophy with Ollie, and this is like the Carabao Cup. Even then, it depends who you guys are playing. I predicted when he was signed, I said Ollie's never going to win a trophy with you guys. Look, time will tell, but his chance was in the Europa League last year, or even in the FA Cup. Losing the semifinals in both competitions. I'm going to move United down to 6. simply because they're an injury away. They're an injury away from really struggling. They're a Bruno Fernandes injury away from struggling. And I think as we'll get tells, you guys aren't going to get Sancho. It's just I think you guys are too young. I think you have too much of a young team with a lot of players on the attacking side. You have a lot of young attackers. Kind of when the going gets tough, I don't know if you guys are going to be able to recover it. You guys finished third because everyone else is just so much worse than you guys last year. Defensively, Lindelof, we clearly seen isn't the answer, and Harry Maguire is the number one center back, despite United splashing a world record fee to sign him from Leicester. There's a lot of problems at the back for sure. There's no denying it. Dari, you'll for sure admit that you guys have problems defensively. Wan-Bissaka wasn't there, which obviously hurts. You guys will be better with Wan-Bissaka. Anyone attacking from the right's going to have more trouble because Wan-Bissaka is a great one-on-one defender. But you guys give up too many. It's too easy for teams. We saw with Chelsea last year. Their defending was a joke. And I think United are in danger of that happening to them this year. Lindelof clearly isn't the answer. We'll see if he gets dropped on the weekend because he was the worst player for United last week. He reminds me of Christensen, Lindelof. He has good performances, but overall, just when it comes to the Premier League, he's just not tough enough. He doesn't have that aggression, and guys in the Premier League take advantage of that. It's a tough league to play in, and at center back, you have to be commanding, you have to be tough, you have to be willing to stick in your body. And we saw for that third goal, Zaha took it away from him. Instead of clearing, he kind of makes a toe poke attempt to clear it. I don't know what that was. Zaha and takes it from him, puts it past De Gea. Anyways, we could talk about all that game one. United just have a lot of problems. The board seems more satisfied with finishing in top four than they do challenging for titles. It feels like they're turning into Arsenal, just being satisfied with. I'm not talking about the fans. I'm talking about the board. They're satisfied with finishing fourth place. You always notice over the last few years since Sir Alex left, they always spend when they fail to qualify for the Champions League, rather than when they do qualify for the Champions League.
It's ambition.
Yeah,
it's ambition. When
they qualify for the Champions League, now they should be saying, okay, how do we kick on from here? Sancho, they should have wrapped up. It's not going to happen because they're not going to splash 120 mil on him at this point. It's quite clear to me that's not going to happen. How does United finish in the top four? What's the formula for them? I'm struggling to see it.
I'm feeling that they need to go for a flair-like player. I do think Sancho is one of them, but if it's not him, they need to figure out who very soon. It is 2 weeks left. The United board have to get their heads together and really really dig in and find something to get for the fans to get excited about. I'm excited about Van der Beek, but that isn't enough for this side. Defensively, we need acquisitions. I could go on and on as a list of things that's wrong with the club right now. Mm-hmm. The only reason I'm not putting it as low because I feel like this season that they can't finish fifth and sixth. It's just it will destroy the club in itself. And I'm not to be over dramatic when I say that.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah,
this club needs to finish in the top four for the sake of not just Ole but for the board itself. Because the amount of backlash it's getting right now after just finishing third in and we're going to the Champions League is the worst, most toxic feeling I've ever personally felt in a long time at United.
They finished third because everyone else and same with Chelsea. They finished fourth because Arsenal and Spurs were horrible. Leicester choked it at the end. We all know what happened last year. Chelsea and I were just lucky that everyone else is a lot worse than them. Chelsea had a good year last year because of their situation, losing Hazard. They couldn't bring anyone in. They were able to bring in Kovacic because he was a lone player, and Pulisic because the deal was done in January. But those are not Lampard signings. They were both terrific signings. They're both terrific players. Kovacic in the midfield, we know what he brings. I don't think I said who I have in fourth and third. I have Arsenal in third and Chelsea. Arsenal fourth, Chelsea third. Arsenal, they bought into Arteta. I bought into Arteta. They're gonna be a lot better. They finally have direction in that club. Aubameyang will be good. But then again, I don't like Willian. Willian is gonna cost them. I think it's gonna cost some points. We haven't seen much from Arsenal this year to really say that they're gonna be good because Fulham and West Ham, with all due respect to them, are horrible football teams. So they got away with playing poorly against West Ham. That's what good teams do. But again, I think people are, I don't know, the reliance on Willian. Now he's a cam. He's now playing a new position, and Chelsea fans have had their issues with him over the last 7 years because often kind of his attitude drops when things aren't going well for him. So strange signing from Arsenal. Again, they got him for free, but time will tell if that works. Aubameyang, if they lose Aubameyang, then they're in trouble because they're not going to get goals outside of Aubameyang. I think they're going to strike. It's weird. Arsenal, I think, will finish fourth simply because everyone else is worse. But I'm telling you, Everton will be in that conversation come the end of the season because they are a team without any weaknesses. I'd say outside of goalie, they're maybe weakest at goalie, but Pickford, his reflexes should be good enough. And finally, we'll end up on Chelsea. They're going to get a new goalie, Edouard Mendy from Runs. The only thing I like about him is his name isn't Kepa Arrizabalaga. I'm so sick of watching that donkey attempt to play goalie. Anyone that's ever defended him just needs to stop talking about football. He is the worst goalie in Europe. He'd probably struggle in the MLS if we're being completely honest. You know what, honestly, send him to like the Chinese Super League. That's probably his level at this point. I feel bad for Kepa because it's not easy with that price tag to come in, but he's been just so bad that literally anyone else with a pulse will play better in net for Chelsea. So obviously Lampard's going to replace him because Lampard is not a stupid man. He's getting a guy for 20 mil. They've had a terrific window, but again, we're not healthy yet. Kai Havertz and Timo Werner are the only healthy players, but they haven't touched the ball in the Premier League yet. Timo Werner, we've seen his qualities. He'll get in behind. He'll make the right runs. But I think we need to see Kai playing in the number 10 position instead of Mason Mount. I think it'll be interesting to see how Chelsea fits in all these new pieces because Ziyech and Pulisic will for sure start when they're healthy. Chilwell, Son for Alonso. So we haven't even nearly seen the best from Chelsea because they're still doing their business. With a new goalie will obviously help. We saw the mistake Kepa made against Sadio Mane for Liverpool's second. That was Daria, as we know, that was just an embarrassing moment from Kepa giving the ball right to Sadio Mane. But you have to think Chelsea will finish third because of the way they've spent. They spent in the right places. Thiago Silva will improve them defensively. He's going to take complete command. I think Thiago Silva and Kurt Zouma will be a terrific partnership. I'm excited to see that. I think Kurt Zouma is starting to find the form he had before he was injured against United so many years ago. I think now he's coming into his prime and starting to really show why Chelsea loved him so early on in his career. A lot to break down with this Premier League season, and we'll for sure keep breaking it down as the season goes along because it will have a lot of talking points. But those are our Premier League predictions. We talked about a lot today. It's a crazy time in sports. Seasons are either finishing and seasons are either starting. The NFL and Premier League is now underway. The NBA and NHL are just getting finished. We'll break it all down next week in probably one of the longer episodes. Thank you if you guys stuck with us. Thank you for sticking with us. It's a crazy time in sports, so we're happy to kind of share our opinions with you guys. But from 5-5 Sports, we'll be back next week. Matthew, you want to talk about Spirit Live quickly before we head out?
Yeah, we are starting our season 2 of our Spirit Live radio show next month. So subscribe to us on YouTube and also check us out there. Thank you guys for listening.
Yeah, take care. See you guys next week.
Bye-bye.